Let's go on a little holiday with Grumpy Collins on the Grumpy's Getaway, part of the 6PR weekend. How you doing, Steve?
I'm very, very well, thank you today. Rod, how are you today?
Good, mate. You're going to talk about somewhere I have only been to the capital of. But,
Bangkok, yeah.
Thailand.
And we're going to talk about Phuket today. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why is because my next-door neighbours have just come back from Phuket. It was their first trip there, because they always been to Bali, and they loved it. They spent 3 weeks there and they loved it. And coincidentally, I've got some friends, very, very good friends of mine from Sydney staying with me at the moment, and we all had a little group holiday in Phuket a couple of years ago, and we all loved it as well. And it is a terrific destination, and you can get there now, direct flights with Virgin now from Perth to Phuket, so it's a bit easier for us to get there. And I reckon it's just a lovely place, and we're talking about the summer holiday. If you really want a summery holiday, I reckon Phuket is one of the great places to go for it. Just
describe Phuket for us, because I know it's a coastal destination in Thailand. So how far from the capital is it?
Well, now I think it's an hour's flight, so that would make it about 700-800 k's. It's south. It's actually Thailand's biggest island. It's not far off the coast, off the mainland. There is a bridge that spans the channel, and it's not far off the mainland, but it is a rather large island. For instance, when you arrive at the airport, it's about a 45-minute drive to Patong, which is sort of the main area in Phuket.
Phuket Airport
That's
itself.
from Phuket Airport.
Okay.
The Phuket Airport is on the north side of the island, and it is quite a large island, certainly much bigger than, say, Roto, for instance.
Yeah.
Probably bigger than, probably about the same size as Kangaroo Island or South Australia, if you know that. But it's just a great destination. It's one of these places where I really like the Thai people. The Thai people are very, very laid back, pretty much like the Balinese in certain respects, but I find that you don't get hassled as much in Phuket. When you go to Bali, you get on the streets in Bali, you can get hassled by all the street traders. Well, that tends not to happen in Phuket. There are certainly a lot of traders there. And you can certainly get good bargains, but you don't get the same sort of hassle. And I think it's a little less busy traffic-wise. It's on the Andaman Sea, and it's just a glorious place to. And I reckon there's a little bit more to do in Phuket, say, than compared to Bali. Now, one of the things that I would thoroughly recommend is doing the sea kayaking on Phang Nga Bay. Now, Phang Nga Bay, it's to the northeast of Phuket. There's various ways of getting there, but you usually drive to a port on the northeastern side of the island and then get boats from there. It sounds as if it wouldn't be all that interesting, but it is absolutely fantastic, because all these islands are cast limestone formations, which means it is limestone. A lot of it has been eaten away, and so what you do is there's all these holes through it, like these tunnels, that get you into the centre of these islands. Now, you can only go usually at low tide, because when the tide comes up, the caves, you can drown, or the caves are underwater. So it's one of those. But you can go many times as you like, because it's different every time because of the tides and because of the number and the various islands you go to. But what you do is you don't have to sit there and paddle yourself. You have somebody who paddles for you.
Oh, that's a bit lazy, Steve.
The guy I had was called Oscar, and he was fantastic. And I'm a rather large gentleman.
Oscar must have died.
And I thought, you poor little man. But he loved it. And not only that, when he wasn't paddling, because you're sitting there waiting to get in the queue to get into these caves to go for the island, he was giving me nice little back massages, so it was terrific. But you get into these islands, and they look very, very foreboding when you come up to them, because they're very, very high, very steep, with a lot of vegetation around them. And when you get inside them, you find that they're hollow inside, and it's really tremendous experience. And you get wild monkeys and all that there in the
what, in the cave system?
In the foliage inside the cave. But we teemed with rain on one occasion when we were there, and you know what, you'd think that this would ruin it, because we were all wet and soaking wet. But you know, it added to it, because it was just so surreal. It was like being in a lost world. And so we did this, and you get your lunch and all that on board. It's a full day tour. And then we ended up in James Bond Island. Now, you might have seen the man with the golden gun. You might have seen that famous island, which just looks like a great big stunt pipe coming out of the water. And so you go there to this James Bond Island. I have to tell you, in the movie, it is a lot bigger than it is in real life.
Yeah.
They blew it up. It's only, it's not as imposing as it looks in the movie, but it's fantastic. Yeah. So that's one of the things to do there. There's plenty of things. There's a lot of different beaches. Patong is the most popular beach. That's where most of the hotels are. But there's some really good beaches, particularly south of there. You've got Caron Beach, which is the next beach south of Patong. And then just south of that, again, you've got, which is my favourite beach in Phuket, which is Kata. Now, unfortunately for Kata, it's a great beach, but Club Med have got the very best location. They're right opposite the beach, and so that's all taken up with Club Med. But it's just lovely. It's very nice and tropical, and it's a smallish beach, and it's just a very comfortable beach. And the water up there, of course, the water up at Patong, you can swim in the water, but it's a bit grubbier because there's so many there. But when you get down to Kata, it's just golden sands and lovely beaches and all that. But there's plenty to see there. There's Cape Promthep, which is the cape sort of at the southern point, and from there you get great views of the southern part of Phuket Island and out to the Andaman Sea. And there's this big temple there, because there's a lot of temples. It's a Buddhist part of Buddhist part of Thailand. Well, Thailand is mainly Buddhist, yeah. But when you get down south, you start to get a big Muslim influence as well, and that comes up through the people from Malaysia and all that. So, but there's this amazing big temple there. There's all these elephants. It's dedicated to the elephants, and there's they're not real elephants, but they're statues of elephants, and there's literally thousands of them, and it's just a lovely place to go to. Mm-hmm. And the hotels are just, there's heaps of hotels of whatever standard you want to go to.
Well, you mentioned Club Med, so that gives you some indication of what's there, I guess.
Yeah, Club Med. I would never go to Club Med, but that's just me. I like to be a little bit more independent. I don't want all my meals provided or anything like that. Seafood, do you get good seafood in Phuket? I was having these seafood platters there, and they were dirt cheap. Yeah. We would have a full meal. It'd cost us less than $20 for a couple, and that's with drinks and all. It was just fantastic. And the seafood, because they have what they call sea gypsies, who fish off Phuket. They stay out on their boats, and they have these big speed boats that go out to them each day or several times a day to bring their catch into port, so that it's always fresh. When you go out there, do the gypsy children hound the tourists? Or no, because they're out on the boats. Yeah. You don't actually see them. They're just out there fishing the whole time. They call them sea gypsies mainly because they're moving around fishing, but they rarely come into shore. Yeah. And you see these speedboats, they've got about 4 huge Mercuries on them, and they zip out there and then zip back. And that's how you know that the seafood is really fresh, because it's going out and coming back several times a day. Almost hourly. Yeah. We're talking about Thailand, in particular Phuket, on Grumpy's Getaway.